You're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the best in paranormal talk radio in the UK and around the world.
From haunted houses to cursed artifacts, from whispers in the dark to battles you'll never read in scripture. This is the Unholy Podcast, hosted by Doug Owen, author, investigator, and survivor of one of the most harrowing real-life hauntings ever documented. Each week, Doug pulls back the veil between this world and the next, sharing stories that aren't fiction, because he lived them. Prepare yourself. The silence is over.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Unholy Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Owen, author of The Unholy Silence, a true account of an Idaho home, paranormal investigator, and host of the Unholy Broadcast live radio show. So whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or one of our affiliated radio networks, thank you for joining us. If you're new to the show, this podcast is dedicated to real investigations, real experiences, haunted locations, cryptid, UFOs, the unexplained, and the people dedicated their lives to searching for answers where conventional explanations fall short. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, I would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who enjoys the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. And if you'd like to support what we do here, yes, it's time for the handout, become a member of the Unholy Inner Circle on Patreon. Members receive behind-the-scenes content, investigation updates, bonus material, and exclusive content not available anywhere else. And as always, you can visit my website at authordougowen.com. There you'll find my information about my upcoming appearances, investigations, podcast episodes, media interviews, reviews, and much more. So while you're there, be sure to check out my memoir, The Unholy Silence, a true account of the terrifying year I spent in a haunted and infested house. It is one of the most harrowing haunteds ever recording in human history. Now, remember this, as I always say, sometimes the silence is the most terrifying thing. So, let's get on with the show. Tonight, I am very excited to welcome someone whose passion for the paranormal has connected him with investigators and enthusiasts all over the country. Our guest is Drew Ellsworth, founder of Paranormal Papa Investigations. Now, we'll be talking about how he became involved with the paranormal and things that stayed with him all of these years. The equipment he trusts, evidence he's captured, skepticism versus belief, haunted locations, cryptids, and where he believes the paranormal research field is headed in the future. Drew, welcome to the Unholy Podcast.
Thank you, Doug. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure, believe me. I really appreciate this. So, first of all, for everyone meeting you for the very first time, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Drew Ellsworth?
Well, Drew Ellsworth is a fella that grew up in central Indiana. My actual experience with the paranormal started when I was only 6 months old and continued my entire life. Almost 2 decades ago, I became a paranormal investigator. I didn't record anything. I kept paper files, maybe a few pictures here and there. 2019, I actually started recording my investigations, and then a year ago, coming up a year ago, it's been 11 months, I started Paranormal Papa Investigations. It's been a road. I mean, it's been ups and downs, and my wife telling me, don't bring anything home with you. Make sure and do your prayers and your blessings and your smudging and everything. We have enough stuff in our house. We don't need anything else. Which, 4 years ago, this past January, her grandmother passed away. And I promised Grandma, I'll give it a little bit of time, but I will investigate the house after your passing, and I'm going to see if you and Grandpa are still here. And sure enough, not only did I get them, but I got people from back before. I think this was even a town. It was absolutely amazing. I'll be doing a new one here in the next couple weeks, a new investigation here at the house, but got married 10 years ago today, as a matter of fact.
Well, congratulations on your anniversary. That's amazing.
Yeah, she works nights, and, she left for work last night, and I called my friend up. It's like, I need to run to the store real quick. And he come over and picked me up, and I ran out and got her a big old basket of candy and cold coffees and all kinds of cute little things. And she came home at about 5 o'clock this morning. She's like, damn, is that today? And she actually leaned over me and looked at our marriage license. We had a Scottish wedding, and my sword, my claymore, and our marriage license, and our shield, our targe, and everything's hanging above the bed. And she's leaning over me, trying not to fall on me, looking at the marriage license, going, "Oh crap! Today is the 25th."
Nice.
But I noticed a big. I know I'm rambling.
No.
It's such a wonderful, happy day here. 10 years ago, like I said, we got married on June 25th. On July 4th, we went to a local little lake by here that everybody got together and was celebrating and grilling out and having a beer and swimming. And I noticed I was very, very weak. I couldn't do anything. I slept for about 5 hours on a park bench up underneath the shelter, and they actually had to help me to the car when it was time to go home. And I came home, got in the tub, got all cleaned up, put my pajamas on, laid in bed. It was only like 6 o'clock, and I fell asleep and woke up the next morning at about 7:30 and couldn't move. Come to find out, I was going into diabetic shock.
Oh, wow.
And she tried to get me to the car and couldn't by herself, so she wound up calling the ambulance. And her and I took off. Now, understand, at this point in time, we have a 7, almost 8-year-old little girl running around the house. My stepdaughter, amazing kid. She's actually gone on investigations with me.
Nice.
And I think she's going to grow up to be a natural. But they wound up taking me to the next town over, which is only 9 miles away. And the doctor took one look at me, said, he's dying. We need to get him to Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is about an hour drive. So, there's the ambulance, 80 mile an hour going up the interstate. Gets me into Kalamazoo, and they pull into the ER, and I flatline. And they were statin, getting people were running, EMTs were running in, doctors were running out, and they managed to get me in there and brought me back. And I was in there about 10 or 15 minutes, and I flatlined a second time.
Wow.
And they noticed that as they were trying to bring me back, my lungs were shutting down. So they induced a coma. I was in a coma for a week and a half. And needless to say, my amazing wife was there with me the entire time. Almost got arrested a couple times because she didn't want to leave me. And, it's been very bumpy because they not only could they not figure out how I became diabetic, but they couldn't figure out why I had survived as long as I did, because the doctor told me that he has buried people with a lower A1C than mine.
Wow.
My blood sugar was 860.
Whoa.
My A1C was 16. But fast forward 8 years, I started going blind. And it wasn't due to the diabetes, it was actually cataracts. And I went completely blind in the right eye, and the left eye was starting to go, and I wound up losing my job last November. I've been a chef for years, but I wound up losing my job because, well, I couldn't do it anymore. And I just recently had eye surgery, double eye surgery. The one that was the worst come out the best. And this is no longer foggy, but it's blurry.
Okay.
So I still can't work because moving around and everything, especially in bright sunlight, throws off my equilibrium. I get nauseous. That's why, pardon the phrase, none of us really consider the paranormal a job, but I do because I'm stupid that way. That's why I choose to work at night, because so much less light to deal with.
No, absolutely. So let me ask you, what led you to create Paranormal Papa Investigations? How did the team come together?
Well, I actually started, like I said, back in 2019, doing it, and keeping a video record of it. And the guy that I go out with, my partner, his name is Mark Siegel. He was a security officer at the casino that my wife works at. And I come to find out that he was very, very big into the paranormal. Very religious, mind you, but believed in the afterlife. And he's one of these very rare folks that don't believe either go to heaven or go to hell. There is no middle ground. You don't stick around here.
Right.
And, he was going out with me, and we clicked. And, well, since then, he's moved on. He's now a county sheriff. We are trying to get time off work for him so we can get out this year and actually do some stuff. But we've been all over. We've done well over 200 investigations. We've been to museums. We've been to historic cemeteries. We've been to Gettysburg. It's been an amazing. We've been to the Flight 93 Memorial coming out of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It was just. It's been a heck of a road, and trying to balance my whole paranormal thing with the fact that I'm an ordained minister. I'm not a non-denominational, I'm a multi-denominational. I perform weddings for everything from Celtic to Druid to witches to LGBTQ plus, Norse, regular Christian weddings, hand bindings, just whatever you could possibly think of. And I've tried to balance those two things, because if you read in the Bible, it actually tells you that you should leave the dead alone. But if you read a little further into the New Testament, it says one must exert their control over the afterlife. So it kind of contradicts itself in there a little bit.
Sure it does, yeah.
And, it's just, I've slowly started building my team. I'm always looking for new folks to go out and do investigations with, collaborations. Of course, I got my head in the clouds a little bit. I know I'm good. I know I'm honest. I know I'm thorough. I get a hold of some of the highest names in the field. And it's like, hey, I'd love for you to come to Michigan sometime. I'd be more than happy to host you. I know where there's some beautiful old county poorhouse museums at, and original homesteads. Yeah, but I have yet for anybody really big to answer me.
Okay. So when somebody contacts Paranormal Papa Investigations, what can they expect? Walk us through, if you would, your investigative process.
It really varies with the situation. It varies with the case. I sit down and I try to talk to the folks a little bit because I want to know if what they're experiencing is here or here. I want to know what kind of state of mind they're in. I ask so many questions. I mean, it has to feel like a Fortune 500 job interview or something. I mean, so how long has this been going on? Exactly what are you experiencing? And you'd really be surprised. There's a lot of people would think there's more problems here with folks than there are out here.
Okay.
But there's actually more here. And sometimes what's here can affect what's here. But I will sit and I will talk to folks. I will counsel with them a little bit. I will advise them to try this, or this, and then get a hold of me in a week or two. And they'll they might call back and say, hey, that worked, or hey, it didn't. Well, then we move on to, okay, when would you like us to come out and check out your home, your business, your property, whatever the case may be? Sorry, my only nasty habit.
No,
I have to
you are perfectly fine. You do you. No worries.
Yeah, you'll come to find out by the time this is all said and done, I am not your normal ordained minister.
You wouldn't be on the show if you were.
Well, you got to be special in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
But
so let me ask you this question here. So when you go and investigate someone's home, how important is it for you to approach the investigation gently or respectfully? Because when families call you, they're probably experiencing something very frightening. How do you put them at ease?
Amazingly enough, I don't think there's as much what somebody like you or I who have been through it multiple times. It's not what we would consider frightening. It's something that just is different. And for someone who has small children in the house or something, if they're seeing a shadow, if they're hearing things, if they're feeling things, they're going to be, their alert is going to be way up here compared to if it was just a couple of adults that might be hearing the stairs creak at night, or maybe going downstairs or something in the morning to go to work and they see a shadow move. Most of the time they're going to write it off. Oh, that was just me casting a shadow from the bathroom light or from the hallway light, or, but then, they might hear some noises. Okay, well, we've seen some things get moved in our house. We've heard some weird things at night. We swore we heard people talking. And I try to approach everything calmly. First thing I try to do is I try to calm them down. Well, maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it's just something who has tried for years or decades to be heard, to be acknowledged. And you are finally acknowledging it, but like they say about a child, whether it's positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement, it's still attention.
Right.
And so that's the first thing I tried to do. And, you know, I'm not one of these Las Vegas-based paranormal investigators that jump and tinkle on myself every time I hear or see something that's weird. You know, I try to stay calm.
Right.
I try to stay, because a lot of times I'll invite the homeowner to be there with us during an investigation, because that's what the spirit is used to, is having that person or those people there. So I try to invite them to stay if they want to, and I try to stay calm so they stay calm. You know, it's not a, oh my God, this is evil, demon, you know, whatever the case may be. I won't do that. I was just on Facebook. It's funny you mention that. I was just on Facebook earlier, and one of the paranormal teams that I follow had posted something. What's the weirdest advice you ever got as a paranormal investigator? And somebody once told me it's okay to go in there and be a little aggressive, to be a little boisterous.
Okay.
They're dead. What are they going to do? Believe me, I have seen what they can do.
Yeah.
I have come home with scratches. I have come home with aching bones. I had to cut an investigation very short one time because something punched me in my stomach and almost made me sick.
Wow.
But talking to the neighbors a couple days later, I come to find out this is something that's just there. It's not something I upset. It's just something that's there. And I don't think it was a bad thing. I think it was something because the cemetery's not had a new burial in it for 40 years.
Okay.
I think it's people there that feel like they're forgotten. So whenever a stranger does come out there, they're very aggressive. Why'd you forget us? Why don't anybody acknowledge our lives or our spirits or anything anymore? So, I mean, that's how I try to approach an investigation, is calm, cool, collective, and supportive of both the living and the living impaired.
Interesting. So what do you think is one misconception that people have about paranormal investigators?
I'm not going to name drop here because regardless of whether you're a paranormal investigator or a paranormal entertainer,
right,
one of the biggest misconceptions is when people look at a paranormal investigator, they look at some of these big names on TV and stuff like that. You're either a Baggins or a Warren or something that always seems to run across these, it's evil, it's throwing furniture, it's doing this. They're not all like that. If you look at my, when I started my channel 11 months ago, I started by putting all my videos up that I had recorded for like the last 2 or 3 years. And none of them you will ever see me scream, jump, anything. We have talked to gentlemen who perished in Vietnam. We have talked to gentlemen who perished during World War II. We have talked to people who have perished during the Revolutionary War. My friend Mark is a U.S. sharpshooter Civil War reenactor. And we've ran across the graves of sharpshooters. And, you know, he's taken off his little green kepi and laid it on top of the tombstone and spoke to them, and they've communicated back. And, you know, it's not all jump scares, horrible things. And see, demon. I made reference to that. I do not believe that everything you run across that gives you an eerie feeling or has a negative reaction to you is a demon. My mentor, Danny Holroyd with Southern Michigan Paranormals, made a statement one time, and it stuck with me. Sometimes people were just a-holes in life, and they continue to be a-holes in death.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
And that has stuck with me for years. I still go out with Danny and his crew, and we do some big investigations. We're actually looking at Grissom Air Force Base Air Museum, which they have planes there that, sadly, pilots have perished in. And, the Jeepers Creepers School, where some blood-soaked cloth material has been found buried. No bodies yet. It's actually out in the middle of a field, but the gentleman who the Jeepers Creepers was modeled after was in that area.
Wow.
And they really believe that sheet they found was remnants of something he left there. But yeah, that's the biggest misconception is people think that's the paranormal. Jump, scream, run, whatever. But a lot of times, 95% of the time, it's simple things. It's communication, it's little noises, it's a touch, your hair being stroked, something. So when people like me put these videos up for people to watch, they're like, well, he goes to some really wussy kind of places because there's nothing there. So yeah, that to me is the biggest misconception, is what paranormal entertainment has built the paranormal to be.
So what is the first thing that you look for when you enter a haunted location? The very first thing.
When I walk into a haunted location, after I've done everything with the folks, talked to them and got everything arranged, where they're going to be at, where we're going to set the camera equipment up, where we're going to put all of our equipment. The first thing I do, baseline electromagnetic readings. I want to walk through the house with a meter, and I want to see what my baseline is. Is all the power shut off? Did we kill the main breaker? What do we do to make sure that we're getting the absolute minimum electromagnetic reading in the house? Now you have to understand, human beings throw off an electromagnetic reading. So you might have like a 0.1, it might even be a 0.0 because, we don't have a very strong field. But after I go through and get my reading, I will start the camera. I will tell folks, the story of the property. A lot of times we have to go back and search the history of the property or the home. And I turn everything over to Mark, and I let Mark do all the history, the history of the individuals, the history of the property, when the home was built, everything. And then we actually get an in-depth investigation going.
Okay. So what pieces of gear never leave your investigation bag?
I don't know if you can see it. I think you can. Got my two big boxes right there. Nothing ever leaves my boxes.
Okay.
Nothing. I have everything from cat balls to EMF detectors to EM field pumps to digital recorders to everything that you could, dowsing rods, anything and everything that I need to update my equipment. But I have another box that's empty. I haven't got anything in it yet, so I need to get some more pieces. Yeah, none of my stuff. It's all right there, and a lot of times we'll go on like family trips, family reunion or something like that. It goes in the back of the SUV.
Okay.
Just in case I get a hankering, because our family reunions are held up in northern Michigan, and it's a very large lake, and people have drowned there. Boats have capsized, and I've been known far and wide for walking around at night with my equipment on the beach when everybody else is sleeping. So, yeah, nothing ever leaves no.
Okay. So, do you rely more on technology today or your own experience and intuition?
That's a very good question, Doug. That's a very good question. When all that nasty stuff happened to me, back right after the wife and I got married, and then started to go blind 2 years ago, I noticed that I was losing my sight here, but I was gaining sight here.
Okay.
And they say, when you lose one sense, your other senses pick up. And though I was always sensitive, I hate using that term. If I was always tuned, it got even stronger when I started to go blind. And I lost my train of thought.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So, intuition.
What was the question again, Doug?
Yeah, do you rely on equipment more or intuition?
Oh, what do I... When I walk into a home and I start to talk to the individuals, I will start to automatically turn on my own equipment and see what I feel. And when I'm doing the investigation, I'm using both. I'm trying to tune in to what I'm feeling using all of my own senses, and I'm letting that help to guide me on what technology that I use. A lot of paranormal investigators believe you have to have 19 different pieces of equipment set up to do an investigation. I'll have 3 or 4 or 5.
Okay.
And it's like what I'm feeling helps to guide me on where to direct my technological equipment in. So I think I would really think that I use my intuition more so to help to guide me on an investigation.
Okay. Fair enough. So, without giving away any confidential information, can you take us through the one investigation that you'll remember for the rest of your life? What happened?
Gettysburg.
Okay.
Gettysburg. I was just talking to someone earlier today. They're getting ready to go to Gettysburg. And I told them, I said, be prepared. You could literally stay there for 2 months, go out every single night and investigate, and you're going to leave empty. We were only there for 3 days, and that was 10 years ago. No, that was 6 years ago, this coming October 20th that we got there. And still to this day, I think about Gettysburg. I think about who we communicated with. I think about the 55,000 plus men that either died, went missing, or were injured during those 3 days. It was it's like I told them earlier today, you might leave Gettysburg, but Gettysburg never leaves you.
Okay, interesting. Have you ever investigated a site where you ended it early because something didn't feel safe to you?
Well, the one I told you about where I got hit in the stomach, I think I probably could have forced my way through an investigation there, and I don't know, and I've actually been there twice. This was the first time. And it just didn't feel right. If something was that aggressive, it was either trying to be aggressive and warn me about something spiritual or something physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told my friend that was with me, he's a retired county sheriff. His name is Michael, and he went out there with me because Mark had to work that night. And I told him, I said, something's not right. I said, let's pack up. We'll find someplace else to investigate here in the next couple days. And I just recently took another couple out with me. I think it was a year ago, called Ferris the Fam on YouTube. And they drove 40 miles to come over. We done an investigation. And lo and behold, we got about midway through the investigation, and some drunk redneck come peeling up the old railroad berm that ran along the south side of the cemetery, and started yelling at us about spotting deer. And we kept trying to tell him we're paranormal investigators. And he called us stupid, and there is no such a thing as ghosts. And he finally wound up almost flipping his truck over, turning it around on the berm to go back down and come around and enter the cemetery to get to us. And I started thinking, this might have been what I was warned about a few years ago. Was this guy who thinks he owns the cemetery because his property comes right up to it. And yeah, it was definitely scary because we didn't know if he had a weapon. We didn't know anything. All we knew is he was getting awful violent over the fence up on the hill, up on the berm. But when he got on the same ground as us, we were pulling out of the cemetery. When he was pulling in, there was no braking to it. He gunned the accelerator on that truck and spun it and trailed us 12 miles back into town. Up on our back bumper, honking his horn, flashing his headlights, gunning right up to us and backing off, gunning up to us, backing off. It was kind of scary. I think I'm more scared of the living than I am the living impaired.
No, absolutely. So, have you personally witnessed an apparition? Not on video, but something with your own eyes.
I have seen shadows. I have seen fogs. Now, understand, these are not things I could physically touch. These are things I could see, and when I started to move close to them, it's like they weren't there anymore. Like you blink your eye and you don't see it anymore. And there was actually one video, one cemetery we done, where at the very end of the event, I had a friend here visiting from England, and Mark and I took him on an investigation. And right at the end of the investigation, I was pretty much doing the closing last few minutes, and I seen a haze coming from the tree line, and and it's like it was moving right at me, and I spun. And even Mark was very very edgy and testy during that entire investigation. It was the very first investigation I ever seen him unlatch his side piece.
Oh wow!
And put his hand on the grip. I mean, it's like we were surrounded several times. And, you know, when I seen that thing come at me, I spun. And when I came home and edited all the video and was looking at it, you could actually almost see a face in that. I mean, pareidolia, I would almost assume as a researcher. But you could almost see a brow line, a nose, the bridge of a nose, hollow spots where eyes would. But that was me. You know, that's what I was. Well, I don't know what he used to do. Oh, I see a brow line, I see the bridge of a nose, and that's pretty much all I see. That's probably, yeah. Matter of fact, that's the only time you'll ever hear me in a video be talking and go, and spin, and I ran towards Mark, and he went straight down into that law enforcement stance. One hand down on his hip, the other hand on his grip, and he was just waiting to see what I saw coming at me, and nothing was ever there. So, yeah, it was yeah. Yeah.
So, has there ever been evidence so compelling that even the skeptics around you couldn't explain it?
I've had a few skeptics I've invited on investigations with me, because when I first started recording and putting my videos up on YouTube, one of our very first recorded investigations was an 1879 jailhouse in Galeen, Michigan. And I invited my friend Danny and a few other people that done YouTube paranormal stuff. And I don't know if it's the fact that I was not in it for views. I was non-monetized. I wasn't making any money off of it. I didn't care about the views. These guys had all been at it for a while, and not Danny, but the other guys. And they were actually my skeptics that time, other paranormal investigators. Well, how come you got better evidence on your equipment than we did? Because I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for recognition or accolades for being this great investigator. I'm just trying to gain the evidence to provide the proof that the afterlife truly exists, but not for the accolades, not for the awards, not for the praise, just for the science. And, you know, there was a few times that we would do investigations after that. And they couldn't critique the stuff that I was getting because they were right there with me. They were hearing it come across the equipment. They were seeing what I was seeing. They were hearing what I was hearing, and they were hearing the voice recordings. They were hearing everything, and they just couldn't. They couldn't skepticize it. They couldn't be skeptical of it in any way, shape, or form.
So have you ever disappointed a client by explaining away something that they believed was paranormal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did they react to that?
We were doing a house one time. They were upset at first, and then I explained to them that the exposed wires, the heightened EM field could affect them physically, and they were a little more eased after that, trying to explain to them what the increased electromagnetic field does to the human brain, does to the human body. And they were like, so it might be here, but our mind's telling us it's here. I'm like, yeah. I said, and that's happened to me, so don't feel bad. I'm the one that goes out and does this all the time. You're just trying to live your life with your family and stuff, and you're experiencing all this. I said, believe me, it happens, and it's an actual proven science that it affects people. Oh, and be darned if it wasn't 2 weeks later they had an electrician come in and tear a big chunk out of their wall and find these old wires and got everything fixed. And then I heard from them just a couple months later, and they said, we think you were right, because all the problems we were having, all the things we were seeing and hearing, isn't happening anymore.
Nice. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, more of our conversation with Drew Ellsworth from Paranormal Papa Investigation. Stay with us.
From across the globe, where the unexplained refuses to stay buried, comes a network that doesn't just talk about the paranormal. It broadcasts it. Welcome to Paranormal UK Radio, streaming worldwide at paranormalukradio.com, bringing you an international lineup of voices from the edge of reality, featuring hit shows like The Unholy Podcast, hosted by author and paranormal investigator Doug Owen, alongside Seventh Sanctum with Carrie Ann and Natalie, The Paranormal Peep Show, Unknown Classic Origins Radio, Mac Maloney's Military, X-Files Fridays, Scary Eerie with Mark Manning, The High Strangeness Factor with Steve Ward, Andy Mercer, and Susie Bastille, 6 Degrees of John Keel, and Transdimensional Realities with Melissa Lee. This isn't just radio. It's a deep look at the paranormal. Tune in now at paranormalukradio.com and step into the unknown, because the truth is never silent.
Father Doug Owen, the unholy silence, the unholy podcast.
When it comes to protecting the things you've worked hard for, experience matters. That's why I recommend Dawn M. Adams with Farmers Insurance. Whether it's your home, your vehicles, your business, or your family's future, Dawn takes the time to understand your needs and helps you find coverage that fits your life. Not a one-size-fits-all policy. Proudly serving clients throughout Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, Dawn M. Adams is someone you can count on when it matters most. Call 208-955-6370.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Every piece of equipment has to perform when you're investigating the unexplained. Cameras, recorders, EMF meters, but none of it matters if you can't get there. That's why the team behind the Unholy Podcast trusts Loya Tires in Nampa for every vehicle they drive. Their honest service, fair pricing, and commitment to quality have earned them a reputation built on trust throughout the Treasure Valley. Whether you're heading to work, taking the family on vacation, or chasing answers in the middle of nowhere, start with a team that puts your safety first. Loya Tires in Nampa. Trusted by families, trusted by investigators.
right, everybody, welcome back to the Unholy Podcast. We're talking with Drew Ellsworth, the founder of Paranormal Papa Investigations. So this is the greatest part of the show that I enjoy. It is called the Unholy Fire. Now, for those of you who have been here before, Unholy Fire, you know the rules. One-word answers. First thing that comes to your mind. No explanations. Are you ready?
I am ready, sir.
All right. Ghost or cryptids?
Ghost.
EMF or EVP?
EVP.
Shadow person?
Yes.
Demon?
No.
Possession?
Yes.
Bigfoot?
Yes.
Haunted doll?
Yes.
Okay. Cemetery?
I have one. Sorry.
You do? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Nice. Ouija board?
No.
Aliens?
Yes.
Most haunted state?
Michigan.
Favorite investigation tool?
Digital voice recorder.
Okay. Evidence?
Yes.
Fear?
No.
Afterlife?
Yes.
Skeptic?
Partially.
Exorcism?
Yes.
One mystery you hope is solved in your lifetime?
The existence of the paranormal.
Truth?
Definitely.
And the last one is unholy.
No.
All right, you've survived the unholy fire. Thanks so much. So, listen, Drew, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. It's been a fascinating conversation. We really appreciate everything that you've gone through, your investigations, your explanations, and we wish you and everyone at Paranormal Papa Investigations nothing but success. And I'd love to have you back. An hour is just not long enough to talk to you.
I really appreciate it, Doug. It was so kind of you to get a hold of me and, ask me to be your guest. I love doing podcasts and interviews with folks, especially folks like yourself who have had the experiences, who have gone through the things, who have written about the things, which is something I would really like to do in the future.
Absolutely. And
like I said, I got this new computer and I got like 3 or 4 terabyte of storage space in it, so I think I have enough to put a book in there.
Absolutely. Write your book, my man. Write it. So for everybody else listening and watching, thank you for joining the Unholy Podcast. And if you've enjoyed tonight's conversation, subscribe, leave a review, share it with your friends, family, share it with your enemies even. You can also become a member of the Unholy Inner Circle on Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes updates, bonus material, and more. And don't forget to visit authorDougOwen.com. You'll find my memoirs, my story, radio show, podcasts. So, dear viewers, dear listeners, as I always say, until next time, stay safe, be aware, and beware, because sometimes the silence is the most terrifying thing.
You've just heard another chilling chapter of the Unholy Podcast, hosted by Doug Owen, author, investigator, and witness to the things most feared to name. For more real stories, cursed objects, and exclusive content, step deeper into the dark at authorDougOwen.com. Subscribe, share, and remember, some silences aren't empty, they're waiting.